Welcome back into the workshop again for a not intended video update. I had not long, maybe 15-20 minutes ago, made the previous one and said that I probably wouldn't make another one unless something pertinent or relevant cropped up. Well, within that short period of time, something pertinent and, I think important has cropped up. And that is, I'd already made, backing up, I'd started this panel yesterday. I drilled what holes I could on the drill press, which is the first 2 rows. That's as much as I can do on my size drill press. The remaining 9 holes needed a jig of some description, this one, to finish it. And I was very happy to assemble it's a bit of a makeshift, but still good jig out of the components that I've already got. Now, if I just actually, hang on just one moment. The sharp-eyed people would notice that that was in the wrong place. Anyway, what I've done is I've assembled 2 of the bars together, registered them together with a pin here and here, and I have put 2 bushings, one top, one bottom, to give me an extra, double the amount of bushed and held area for the drill. And you put it in there and there's no wobble whatsoever. Now, I drilled 3 of these holes last night, these 3 here. I then made my video extolling the virtues of this, went inside, came out this morning, made a second repeat sort of video extolling the virtues and idea of this, turned the video off, and then proceeded to locate the drill bit in the small indent that I have already made to locate the very tip of this. And as I did so, like normally I'd spin the drill a bit and I'd give it a bit of a wiggle, I actually did notice a little bit of play that I didn't think was there from last night when I did these 3 holes. So I thought, no, it's still acceptable and it's not a critical component. Well, there is my justification again. It's when you put those bloody rose-tinted glasses on, then you weren't even aware you're wearing them. You kind of dismiss a potential problem. Anyway, I drilled the remaining 6 holes, and I'm still quite happy that I've kind of done so. But I was a bit disconcerted with this wobble, and I thought, it must have been something I was not aware of last night, but it was there because nothing's really changed. Then I went to tilt this up, and the bottom bush had wound itself off because it's in the same rotation direction as the drill bit. That's not so good. So I went to wind it back on. It wouldn't wind back on. And I went, oh, that's interesting. Went to pull the drill bit out. Oh, won't pull out. Oh, no. And what had happened, as you might guess, the friction of the drill and on the bushings are hardened. To what degree, I don't know, but they're hardened. I don't really think the drill is hardened. It could be. I don't know. But anyway, I'd galled the surface so that it seized in the hole. That was because the tolerance is quite tight, and just the friction of drilling these holes, obviously it wasn't perfect, but it has seized the. I'm just getting a cloth. It seized the drill onto one of these bushings, hence why it spun itself out. So, wasn't happy, but I have de-nibbed this so that it goes back in the bushings, but I can still feel a little bit of a schnick. So obviously there's still something there. D-Bird. This is just a rolled up piece of, I think it's 400 grit aluminium oxide, and you can help to deburr it. Because these are hardened, hopefully I haven't buggered these up. I've got other ones, but that's not the point. So I've deburred that, I've deburred this, but I can still feel, as I say, that little snick as you're pushing it backwards and forwards. But the point might well be, don't run them dry, metal on metal. Put a little bit of it's just right there. Not happy. Use a bit of lubricant. I've got all sorts of stuff which I don't know. Honestly, you buy these things because they've got fantastic descriptions, and then you don't know which one's actually appropriate anymore. Multi-lube gel. The reason I wanted the gel was I didn't want lubricant dripping down onto my top, ideally. Or just, in fact, because there's so much dust, like running too much, like lubricant can sometimes be a real messy job, and you wind up clogging up the drill bit anyway. So, didn't want that. The gel is less likely to run. Synthetic, non-drip lubricant, oh yippee, does not attract dust. Yeah, well, anything that's sticky attracts dust, or actually dust will cling to. It may not attract it, but it will cling. Anyway, I've put that in there, and it's, how would you say, fingers crossed I haven't made it a bit of a problem for myself. I'd be quite happy buying another drill bit, but where do you get them this size? I can't find them. Anyone that's now, this jig and this drill bit cost $54 New Zealand dollars. I've seen one of these drill bits $170. Now it's a UJK one, I think, really top line quality, but honestly, $54 for the jig compared to $170 just for the drill bit. I was going, ooh. But they are said, and I saw one description, that they have a 10mm shaft to suit most machines. And I'm going, what sort of machines use the shaft when they've got this part for the driving of it? So guess what? I can't find that the same site that said that about the shaft, the size, and etc. Anyway, I'd like to buy another one of these, or two, but I can't find a manufacturer for it or supplier for it. I need the length of shaft to be able to do what I'm doing, and the dimension, 10mm, to suit the bushings and this. Now, I looked at this when I first got it, and this is bushes removable, so I could actually swap them out, which I may even do. I may put this on the bottom, but its claim to fame was that it's got bearings in it. Fantastic. In fact, it's got, I think, 3 bearings in it. And then it doesn't. So I don't know whether the bottom part of this is exactly the same size as the bore of the bearings, but if I just slip this on, it is a lovely fit. Oh, that is tight. That's telling me the bore of the bearings is better tolerance than that. That gives me some encouragement in some ways to put this part on this part underneath. But it also means that my drill bit is still a little bit sticky, which isn't what I want at all, is it? No jokes going to be had there. But yeah, that's actually a little bit disappointing. But revealing. It obviously means that there's a couple of high spots which I was noticing when I was sliding it into the bushing guides there. So a little bit more work to be done. The other thing was, and this is where I had almost gone down that path, and probably will still, if I make a more how would you say, refined jig up, I want to be able to use it on different bars. And I'm wondering whether having the facility to register it at this end would be a good idea after all, so that I can slide it around, put it into the other holes that will be in the panels anyway, because I would have done those on the drill press. But that then means it's more rigid still, or more, less likely to move still. But now that I have addressed the problem, perhaps, of why this was wobbly, i.e. one of the bushings had wound out, maybe I don't have to do that, because those first three that I did last night or yesterday, they went really well. So then not having to register here and then having to, has its appeal, I've got to say. Anyway, that was my experience this morning. Not a really positive one, but probably a necessary one. Don't run your drills in bushings dry. Otherwise, you stand the very real chance of having the experience I did, which I don't want to repeat. Thank you very much. So that was one other thing too that I noticed, and this is a real weird one. I'd had a problem with another tool that I'd bought, and the bushings that came with it were inferior to what they should have been. Let's put it that way. I had an engineer friend make up some bushings, some stainless bushings, and it would have been stainless on stainless instead of brass on stainless. Nonetheless, he came here one night with them, and we fitted them into the small tool that we're trying to fix, and he, like me, was a bit puzzled why they still wouldn't run properly. Odd, we thought. And I've got, as I said, all these different lubricants and all the variations of lubricants up there. Thin, thick, synthetic, all the rest of it. And we couldn't figure out why the bushing was tight. And he would very gently, give it a bit of a ream out, which wasn't satisfactory in either of our minds, but we had no other choice. And then out of desperation, I used a liquid surfactant, a hand, a cleaner, so soap, and we put a little dribble on the shaft and the bush in there, and it worked perfectly. We looked at each other going, none of that makes sense. It was just out of sheer desperation that I went and got the stuff, because I had it on the shelf right next to us where we were standing, even right now. And we put it on, no friction and no grittiness or grinding or anything. So, I don't know. Going from, as I said, thick and thin synthetic and natural lubricants to soap, and it works. So, go figure. Anyway, I'll have a little bit of a sand of this, because I don't want to muck up the finish or tolerance of it. So I'll just try and find the roughness and see whether I can get my bushing to fit on. Because if that is tight, it means it's got better tolerances than those bushes. So, okay. Not happy with the event that happened, but at least I'm learning something day by day, so I don't repeat it again, hopefully. Rightio, that's it. See you in the next one. Bye now.